Kursk offensive of the Ukrainian forces, if the border breakthrough ends in success for Ukraine, and Ukraine will take control of another part of Russian territory. Will Putin go so far as to use nuclear weapons?
First of all, we need to realistically assess the situation, because this war in Ukraine has two parts. The promotional, PR, informational psychological, and real military or war side. In my opinion, the real, wartime picture at the moment is based on analyses of various sources from different countries, as well as on direct contacts that I have with various people in Ukraine. This situation is very difficult for Ukraine, and I don't expect that Russian troops will flee in panic. Because today Ukraine has a big problem to defend Pokrovsk, the logistical base not only for Donbass, for the Donetsk region, but also for the Kursk region and for the troops operating there in the Russian Federation. In connection with the above, I am aware, and I am also analyzing this, that in the Kursk region, Ukrainian troops have many individual successes. But this is not a Ukrainian offensive. That would indicate that Russia will soon find itself in a difficult situation. This is a huge determination. The heroic action of the brigades of the Ukrainian battalions. But it does not indicate that it will end in any effective offensive in the long run. Therefore, I turn your question around a bit. The observation of the war theater today does not indicate that Putin needs to use tactical nuclear weapons. Quite the opposite. We can expect further positive support actions from the West, which will allow Ukraine to maintain defensive positions in the Donetsk region, and possibly maintain the occupied territories in the Kursk region.
Didn't you forget to sign the channel? This is necessary to be done, and put a like, don't forget either. Thank you very much.
Because the real picture is collecting on the borders, nuclear tests.
Russia would promise nuclear tests in this case if Biden gave permission.
I listen to what Russia says. And I try to listen to at least what Vladimir Putin says, and what serious politicians and decision-makers say. It is not worth paying attention to people like Solovyov, Medvedev, and many other propagandists because they simply talk nonsense. And this must be postponed from the announcements of the real decision-makers. What Vladimir Putin is threatening is not so much the use of nuclear weapons, even the tactical one. He threatens to deliver weapons to these regions of the world that can start a greater war, which would be difficult for the United States. He didn't call it by its name. He did not name the state. But I think that it concerns the Middle East. And this is very difficult for the United States, that today support Ukraine. But they also keep a very close eye on the Middle East, because Israel is very important to the United States, and the Americans are quite strong. And fears of nuclear weapons at this stage are used as an element of intimidation rather than something which, in my opinion, is realistically planned.
On the one hand, Poland promised to transfer a squadron of MiG-29s, depending on the receipt of replacements from allies. But as I know, Poland may receive F-35s from its allies only in 2 years, or in 3 years even, maybe more. Does this mean that it will not be so soon?
This is a difficult topic. Because, on the one hand, Poland has donated several hundred tanks, armored personnel carriers, infantry fighting vehicles. Removing them from our state, which ensured Polish security, especially when it comes to armored and mechanized weaponry. And this effort in the first days of the war was very large. Considering our potential, it's already been forgotten. Because that's the way things are. Today I understand it. That new planes, new helicopters, new tanks, new infantry fighting vehicles are needed. Poland has few of these planes left. MiG-29, but they have been retuned to NATO systems. Today, all electronics, systems related to takeoff, protection of this aircraft in the air, landing, are NATO systems. Therefore, it is not such a simple transfer, just take, it is more complicated. Whereas Poland today behaves in the same way as all other countries of Europe and not only Europe. It helps Ukraine wherever it can, and I think there's no doubt about that, but also as one of the most threatened countries. Because it is no secret that apart from Ukraine, the most threatened countries are three countries, the Baltic states: Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia and Poland. This is clearly what Russia is talking about, and this is what analysts in NATO are also talking about, including the Americans, including the President of the United States. That Poland is taken into account by Russia as a country that can be attacked. In this regard, this is also understandable. That Poland must retain some minimal capacity for direct defense. And those MiG-29s will be transferred to Ukraine.
For the September form of defense, cooperation in the production and repair of Polish and Ukrainian military equipment was agreed. Can you tell us what kind of military equipment? What kind of production it may be? After all, we only know about 2 editions of the production as the cooperation between Ukraine and Poland. What else could be there?
It is difficult to say what it will be. When it comes to Ukrainian-Polish or Polish-Ukrainian cooperation in the field of our defense industry, of course, I am one of the analysts, observers. I have a very friendly attitude toward Ukraine. I have been cooperating with various centers in Ukraine for many years. But I also notice that the Ukrainian authorities are jumping over Poland a bit and focusing their cooperation on Germany. On the one hand, this is in the interest of Ukraine, I understand that. But on the other hand, well, it is a bit of a pity that this is happening. Because it does not sound good. Given the cooperation of countries that are very close to each other and countries that have the same interest when it comes to security. Ukraine and Poland have the same interest. Therefore, speaking of what will be in our defense industries, I am counting on broader cooperation, but also on a little greater openness of Ukraine towards Poland. Because this openness, and I know what I'm saying, is not very big. It is politically declared, but this is the language of diplomacy at the top, which always assures that it is great, that it is wonderful. And in real life it is not always like that. And today our countries require greater cooperation. They require wider openness. But it must be supported by deeds. And I hope that when it comes to a common path in the field of the defense industry, Ukraine has a lot to offer, but so does Poland. Ukraine has a lot to offer, but so does Poland. Ukraine has many needs. Poland also has many needs. And here I hope that it will be filled with specifics. Today, if I were to talk about specifics, I could not say much. Completely honestly. Because what is happening right now in Ukraine only slightly involves Poland. And I hope there will be more of it. And because of the neighborhood and because of the experiences that have been going on since the beginning of this war, people in both Ukraine and Poland have a very positive approach to this cooperation.
If you want more conversations like this on this channel, you need to subscribe and at least give it a like.